Hi, I'm Cathy Thomas. I'm in Laguna Beach at the Montage Resort and Spa in studio with the executive chef, James Boyce.
Hi,
And
Cathy.
James, what are you going to make for us?
Well, today we're going to focus on heirloom tomatoes. So I thought it would be interesting if we stayed in the same area when we did it. So I brought in some Frog Hollow Farms peaches,
Right?
plums of two different kinds, a red plum, a pluot, which is a little larger, that's a dinosaur egg, and a beautiful peach. Then we have some cherries, and I was going to accent the dish with some other fruits, such as blackberries. So what I like to do is bring in a contrast of flavors and textures when I do a salad.
Right.
So what we're going to try and do is not just use heirloom tomatoes, but we're going to add a little acidity from, other than vinegar, we're going to use sweetness from a peach, the texture of plums, and then the acid we're going to bring in from this aged red wine vinaigrette that I have. So remember, when we do a tomato salad, we don't all want to be the same. Another great thing is everybody always takes the stem out, ruins the whole tomato by digging into it. I always cut around the stem, then take and just trim the stalk or the stem end off and discard that little piece. But actually the most flavor is right in the middle of a tomato, underneath where the flavor comes down from the vine into the fruit. And most people dig through that and throw it all out. And when you smell that, that's the most potent part of the tomato.
Wonderful.
So we're going to take these little chunks of tomato, toss them into the bowl, nice and easy, all different shapes because nothing's ever perfect. Then what I'm going to do is take a small little piece of my pluot, a small little piece of my red plum, and then I'll take my peach and just go around it. Now everybody's always saying, oh, do you want to take the skin off of a tomato? Do you want to take the skin off of a peach?
Right.
Taste that, and then you'll understand. I don't think we really want to do that. I think we want to really let the fruit
That's wonderful.
taste speak for itself. We can even leave that piece like that. But you see what I'm doing? It's multi shapes and textures. Throw it into the bowl.
What beautiful colors you've got there.
And that's what we always eat with our eyes, right? So then
Just
what I'm going to do is
gorgeous.
just take a little bit of salt, a coarse salt, coarse sea salt, whatever you have.
Right.
If you don't have coarse salt, use other salts. And this adds two things. It starts the fruit to dissolve and add the flavor, and it'll add to our vinaigrette, the natural juices. But what also it'll do is add a little bit of texture because all the salt won't dissolve by the time we're using it. You don't want to do that too far ahead of time. Really want to add it just at the end. Keep it nice and fresh. A little bit of olive oil,
Right?
okay? You see how much I added? Not much at all. We want to keep it nice and fresh. Some beautiful ground pepper, white, black, whatever you love, okay? Let that sit in the bowl, toss it just a little bit. So I've added my fruits and tomatoes.
Right?
Now what I have some beautiful pitted cherries, and I'm going to add a couple of those because, you know, cherries are stone fruits.
That's right.
Confusing, people think, oh, you know, cherries are cherries.
No,
Only
got a stone in them.
Yeah, only non-stone fruit. I'm going to add a little bit of these beautiful blackberries. If you don't have blackberries, don't worry about it. You could also add some cherry tomatoes if you want to confuse people. Okay, so we toss those in there.
Oh, that's great.
To finish the dish, I thought, you know, it's squash season right now, summertime, you have beautiful squash. All I did was slice a little yellow squash ahead of time, about a half hour ago. Tossed it with a little bit of white wine vinegar or champagne vinegar or rice wine vinegar, salt. Toss it in a bowl, and it's almost like pickle.
Yeah.
It's almost like a kimchi almost,
Really
you know?
a nice acidity, isn't
Except
it?
we didn't have to bury it in the backyard. If you hand me my little plate,
I can do that.
okay? So my vinaigrette is aged red wine, olive oil, pureed in a blender with the pulp of my leftover peaches and plums. Very, very simple. And then what I do is I just trace it on the plate, pour it out of my little pitcher, okay? Then I take, and now I would do, out of this I would get 4 or 5 salads, 6 salads. The more people, stretch it. But what I want to do is make sure I get a little of everything on there. And you see how nicely seasoned it is? Coated with a little bit. I didn't overkill with, you know, all this different stuff on there. Like, you know, I see people put, vinegars and oils and all sorts of unique little flavors. And I like to let everything speak for itself. But you can see, I just stack it in a nice little row. And this one's a little bigger because I know you're going to taste it.
Yes.
And then what I would do is take a little bit of my greens. I just have some nice microgreens in the back. Toss it into my bowl with my seasoning from everything, you see? Just using the corner of it. And then I would just sprinkle it lightly over the top. Try and keep it nice and linear because, you know, we want it to look nice, Kath. And then you have it. And then what I would do is just accent it with a little bit, a few petals of my squash.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Okay? And then you have it. And if you wanted to, you could put some fresh black pepper on the top of it to make the plate hide up all your little fingerprints on there.
All right.
But then you have it. And you know that took about 10 minutes.
And it just looks gorgeous. And I
And
know
it's all
gonna
about
taste
summer.
wonderful.
So there you have it.
James, thank you so much.
You're welcome.